Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. As you can notice, we're not in my garage, we're somewhere else. So let's crack on. I'll show you what we're doing today. So, what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to go from this and go to this. Actually, I'll tell a lie. What we need is to work out how much steel we need to cut off to make each one of them. So from the drawing you can work out how much each one will weigh. I've already done some as you've seen. This is another step. So two of these make one of them. So from the drawing, work out how much each one weighs, which I've already done on the back. So I know the material that I've got is 35mm diameter. I need to cut 7 3/4 inches off to make one. So when they're cut off, chuck them in here, get them nice and warm. These are the tools that we're going to be using. If you don't know what they're called, these are a pair of swagers and 5/8. That's what we use to make them nice and round. This is just a peg, that's just a peg. Some people call them stop blocks. Others will call them kiss peg or something like that, I don't know. We just call them pegs. And then we've got a setting in tool for doing the eyes and getting that kind of shape so that we can fit them all together. And then this is the hammer that we will be forging them on. This is a 500 weight massey clear space, foot treadle there. You can work it in automatic or manual with the lever here. Quite an impressive bit of kit. That's its bigger brother, that's a 1000 weight, this is a 500 weight. This will do full power blows, it'll do 139 per minute. So that thing, when it's going full whack, it's pretty quick. So because I'm starting with 35mm diameter, it's a little bit bigger than what I'd have liked to have started with. So at this point all I'm doing is I'm knocking it down to 28mm square, because it's a better size to start with. So what I'm doing now is using the setting in tool. I'm going to first set in for the jaws. It's better if you start that way. Then I turn it to the right, pull it back a little bit towards me. This setting is going to be the for the eye, that's where they get riveted together. I turn it one more time to the right, pull it back towards me a bit more, set in again, and that is the beginning of the handle. Now I turn it to the right. If I'd have turned it to the left when I were doing them settings, I'd end up with a left hand pair of tongs, and to be honest they feel really weird when you're using them when you're used to a right handed pair of tongs. At this point, what I'm doing here, I'm just forging out roughly the handle on it, knocking it down a square to start with, and then I will be rounding it up and swaging it later on. Right, what I'm doing now, I'm just taking corners off, rolling it a little bit. So basically I'm just forging round bar now from the square. I'm leaving about 4 inch up at the eye because that section is actually tapered from square to round. So you'll see that later on in video. I'll give you a closer look at what I mean with that. Right, so on this heat, all I'm doing now is I'm just giving it another quick roll to the peg just to knock all the scale off it, so when I go in the swages it doesn't squash all this scale into the bar itself. These are the swages. We'll run it through here a couple of times and it'll make it a nice round bar. I won't be going all the way. If you remember, I've just mentioned up at the eye I've just done a nice little tapered section, so I'll be stopping when I get to that. I'll be measuring it. I want 4 inch. Now what I'm doing here is, because I've run it up with the swages, it's left a little mark all the way around bar where I stopped, so I'm just blending that in again now, make it nice and smooth again. Right, so this is what they've turned out like after the first forging. You'll notice this here was the first setting that I did. That was the second setting, and this was the third setting. So that's the jaws, that's the eye, this is the reins. As you can see, they are tapered down into round. That's what they needed to be. So slightly thicker here. That's 3/4 of an inch going down to 5/8. Next step is we need to draw these out so that there's something like that. So we'll get set up, we'll do that next. Now on this point, what I'm doing here is I'm forging out the jaws. All I'm doing is I'm going to just taper it out to some pegs, and then I can finish that off. Once I've put them together, that is what I'll be doing on the anvil. Start off using a small peg just to get it up in the eye to what size I needed. Then, as you can see, I'm starting to taper it out thinner towards the end. At this point, I've now put the hammer into manual mode, which means I've got full control. I can use it as like a press or give it single hits at a time. So I'm just using it to hold the actual bar while I start the bend. Doing this allows it to be a better fit once I've actually started working with it on the anvil. It just makes the job easier later on in the process. And I'm just using the hammer now just to level it all up, make sure it's all nice and square on that eye, and there's no odd lumps that are going to affect the way that they work when they're put together. Right, so that's the next step done. As you can see, this is how they fit together. What we need to do now, drill a hole in here. What I like to do is just tickle these up with grinder a little bit. Then I need to make sure that the reins are straight. Like I say, drill a hole in here, rivet them together, and then start shaping the ends. So if you look here, how I think it just looks a bit more professional when I grind them up a little bit. So that is the next stage. Right, now that's ground up, just going to straighten them a little bit. Not actually that bent, but better to do it now. Just need to do that with all of them. If you're wondering, glitching it over the hole so that it's taking the bend out of it. Then if you look down it, pretty straight. If I get one of these, you see how it's a bit bent. Not bad that way, bent that way. That's just what we're taking out. Right, so now we've straightened them all, what we need to do is just pop it middle of the eye so we know whereabouts to drill it. Not measuring the centre, just eyeballing it. It's close enough. Just get a little tap and check it. That looks pretty central. That'll do. Right, so now they've all been drilled, we're not quite ready to rivet them together yet. If you notice from forging, got slightly different lengths. So I'm going to measure from where the rivet is, cut them all to the same length, and just grind that up a little bit. It's easier to do it now rather than when they're actually riveted together. So that's what we're going to crack on with now. When you're forging it, you always end up with a little bit of extra. I always like to get a little bit more weight in the original cut-off length, so that we've got a bit of extra, so we can trim it off, and we know that they're all going to be exactly the same length. Right, so now that that's cut to length, I like to grind a bit of a dome on it, which that's what I'll do now. Right, now that all them are ground up, time to rivet them together. This is what I'm going to use for the rivets. It's a bit of 1/2 inch round bar. So I'm just going to cut 2 1/4 inches off. That should be plenty enough to rivet them together. Right, so now we're just going to warm this up, flatten it down. If you notice, I've got a gap here, so there's equal amount sticking out at bottom. We'll rivet this side up first, turn it over, do the same again, and then that's one pair put together. Right, so now it's time to start shaping them a bit. If you look at this, I'm going to be forming it around here. Now if you remember when I knocked them down a bit, when I gripped them under the hammer, that started that shape off. So now all I've got to do is knock them down there, cut the ends off and then finish them off on the anvil. We'll do a little bit more grinding just to thin them out a little bit after I've cut it off, but we're not far off finish now. Start off shaping it a bit. We've got the rough shape. I'm going to cut that off to length and then reshape it a bit more. Right, what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to cut that off both sides, and it looks like that. So we'll just chop them off and then we can reshape them a bit better. Right, this is after they've been cut. As you can see, they're not quite fitting perfectly yet, so I'm just going to get it warm again. Just knock them round onto this so that they fit better, and I'm going to grind them down a little bit, and then we want just shaping a little bit so that they're like that. And then that's pretty much it. So we'll get that warm again. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to grind these up a little bit, thin them out a little bit more, put a bit of a bevel on ends, and then can put them back in furnace and finish them off. Right, so what I'm doing, I'm using one that I've already done as a template, so I can try and get them all the same as the first one. Right. Level it out a little bit. So there we go. One pair finished. It's a little bit loose on rivet, so I'll just tighten that up now. Right, that's it. Finished. Right, well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know a little bit different to what I normally do, but while I was doing them, I thought it might make a nice video for you. I will be carrying on with the project GSI, just waiting on a few parts to come, so that will probably be the next video that's coming out. So remember, if you enjoyed this, you can subscribe here. You can check out some of my other videos here. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.